Frame is one of the most important concepts in Daygame and dating, but when I needed to take a deeper dive in the topic, I couldn't find any good videos, podcast episodes, or books explaining it. Yes, everyone is saying you have to have frame, she's snitching your frame, you have to control your frame. But what is frame and what do you do to have it? In this video, I'm going to cover the basics of frame and frame control. What is frame and frame control? Examples of frame in Daygame sets, examples of frame on dates. And then later, I'm going to do more videos on frame control and different situations where you have to deal with it. If you're new to my YouTube channel, then I'm Saint Robert, and for the last more than 4 years, I've been teaching about Daygame and dating to guys from literally all over the world. USA, Canada, Australia, UK, Hong Kong, all over EU and some other countries. I realized how important frame and frame control is for beginning and intermediate daygamers when I saw how guys going through my online group coaching program were struggling with the topic. So in the third month of the program, we decided to do like a real deep dive on the topic of frame, where they have pretty extreme tasks to practice frame control, but I wanted to make a video for the general public and a simplified version of frame for guys going through the first month of the program. So this is that video. Frame simply means the perception of reality. Your frame is your perception of the reality that's happening, whether that's a Daygame set, a date, or the world in general. And a girl's frame is her view, her perception of what's happening in that conversation on the street, on a date, or the world in general. And controlling the frame means who is in control of the perception people in this situation together are having about this reality. For example, you stop a girl on the street and your frame is, I'm gonna stop you here, we're gonna stand here, we're gonna have a little conversation, I'm gonna hit on you, and this is amazing. Her frame might be, I'm in a rush, I don't have time for this. One person in that situation will most likely give up his frame and step into the other person's frame. So, will your game be good enough, will your open be good enough to make her forget she is in a rush, she doesn't care about what's happening, she will give up that perception and step into the conversation with you and think it's amazing? Or will you be too worried about what she thinks about what's happening? Is she in a rush? Oh, sorry, I'm disturbing you, you gotta go, have a nice day. Who gives up their frame and steps into the other person's reality? Or when you go out with a date and your frame is, this is a date, whereas her frame might be, this is a friendly coffee. Or on a date, your frame might be, this is playful and sexual, and her frame, her reality, her view of the situation is, well, if he behaves nice enough, I might make him my boyfriend after 3 months. Who controls the view of the situation? And it's not about just starting the interaction or a date with a frame like that. It's also holding your frame, staying with your beliefs, believing in them, regardless of how she reacts, because she very likely will have her own frame. Maybe she will try to challenge your frame. And if you give up your frame, you lost. If you become reactive to her frame challenges, to her frame tests, you've already lost. If you react to any frame test she's throwing your way, it means you weren't sure enough, you weren't confident enough about your frame. It was a little bit fragile, it got a little bit shaky. She saw that, she challenged, you reacted, you lost. And controlling the frame isn't about hard dominance, it's about soft dominance. Many intermediate daygamers go through the phase of controlling the frame too much. That is normal, that's completely fine, but after that, when they're moving kind of to that advanced level, they do learn to calibrate and to control the frame in a very soft and invisible way. In general, I would say if you have to use strong, explicit frame control moves, like for example, boundaries and bullshit, or what Tom Torero used to call the royal flash, I would say you already kind of lost the battle, because the idea is to be able to control the frame in a soft way. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule. But dealing with frame control is a different topic that's not for this video. I've done a podcast episode with Mr. T where we talked about frame control. You can watch the video or listen to the interview by clicking the link here. And in the future, after publishing this video, there will be several more videos about controlling the frame and dealing with frame tests. The simple idea I want you to understand about frame and frame control is, well, imagine a cool guy in a movie, a guy who's good with girls, and he sees a girl he likes and he wants to say hi. Well, Would he worry what the girl thinks about him opening the girl, or what the people around him think, how this guy would behave on a date? Would he be afraid to escalate? Would he be afraid to pull? Or would he just own all of these things? You can simply ask yourself, what would Justin Bieber do? A person who has many options, who has abundance, usually has good frame. While you get there, your job is to already act as if you have abundance, have strong frame, and get abundance that way. So first you have strong frame, and then you get abundance. Now let's talk about examples of frame in day game sets. When I stop a girl on the street, my view of the situation is, we're gonna stand here, we're gonna chat a little bit, I'm gonna hit on you, this is completely normal, actually it's amazing, and I'm gonna act like that regardless of how she reacts to my open. If before opening her you are thinking about what will she think, she saw me walking behind her, what will she think about me approaching a girl on the street, is that even normal, what will she think about my stack, that means you're already trying to fit what you're doing into her frame. And even before opening, you've already given up your frame. When you're doing a weak stop and a girl isn't really stopping, are you taking that half a step with her, or are you even walking with her if she keeps walking? Because your frame is, we're gonna stand here and we're gonna have a conversation. Her frame is, I'm walking, I'm going wherever the hell I'm going. As soon as you move from the position where you stopped in your day game stop, you gave up your frame and stepped into her frame. When you're number closing and she offers you Instagram, Facebook, or whatever else, are you taking it or are you sticking to the number? Again, that is a question of frame, and why Instagram is a terrible way to close girls has been explained in this video about number closing. When you ask her out on a date and instead she suggests going for a coffee during the day, going for dinner, for lunch, to theater, for a walk, or whatever else, do you accept it? Or are you staying within your frame? Of course, when setting up a date, there are many scenarios you'll have to deal with. Maybe she wants to pick the venue, maybe she's inviting you to join her and her friends to go to a bar or whatever else. But how to deal with all of those scenarios, all of that has been covered on the free texting courses on daygamecourses.com. Now let's talk about examples of frame on a date. Your frame on a date should be, this is a date, this is sexual, I am gonna escalate. And again, all the escalation moves have been explained step by step on the dating courses for free on daygamecourses.com. Her frame might be very friendly, that this is a friendly meeting, or that maybe if we go on 5 dates, she'll make you your boyfriend or anything similar. To hold strong frame on a date, the only thing you have to do is to behave like on a date. Girls aren't friend zoning you. You're friend zoning yourself because you are giving up your frame and behaving like they want you to behave. A simple way you can act like it's a date and hold your frame is by spiking at some moment in the first venue. And here are a few examples of spikes I've personally used in my dates. She would be telling a story and at one moment I would simply say, hey, sorry, can you repeat that? I was lost in your legs. When you say that, she will know it's a date and it's sexual. Or I would let a girl walk up the stairs first and I would ask, hey, do you know why girls should always walk up the stairs first? And they would say no, and I would say, well, so I can check out their ass. Or simply saying something like, I like that you're not just cute but also smart, which again states that you view her as a woman and this is a date. Also, it's about physical escalation on a date. Guys are usually fine with checking out her accessories or tattoos or some simple socially acceptable things, socially acceptable touching, but when it comes to a real man-to-woman escalation, they're really afraid to do that. And that's another way you can show that this is a date, we're moving forwards. All of these moves are a simple way to show her that this is a date, this is sexual, this isn't friendly. And I know that going for these physical escalation moves is kind of scary, especially when it comes to going to a kiss, but the big thing is it's actually pretty simple. Kiss is this big move, but there are many smaller moves that you can take before going to the kiss, and if you know what those moves are, you can simply move through them. You can see how she reacts to each move, and then when you get to the kiss, you already know that because she reacted well to all the other moves, she will react good when you go for the kiss. Of course, in the beginning you might be a bit too aggressive. You will have to learn to calibrate, otherwise you'll be just a pushy fuckboy, and that's not good game. You controlling the frame doesn't mean she will give up her frame and step into your reality, regardless of how good you are at frame controlling. Sometimes girls will prefer to stick to their frame because they know what they're looking for, they know what's up, they are very logical thinking, and that is fine. Sometimes you just have to let them go. And one of the most important things I had to learn about frame control is lose the girl, but don't lose the frame. Yes, sometimes it's a good idea to ease up on a frame control a little bit, maybe give up your frame a little bit, maybe even step into her frame. Yes, sometimes that is okay, but you still shouldn't do it. Right now you are using much more girls because of weak frame control than you would get if you sometimes gave up your frame. And learning how to do that is very, very high level advanced dating stuff, and you don't want to do that unless you have, I would say, a minimum of 30 day game plays, probably even more than that. So lose the girl, but never lose the frame. In the end, when we are talking about frame control, we are not talking about a battle between you and the girl. We're talking about a dance. You are learning to lead. You're learning to find out how she likes to be led and what works for both of you. Yes, you will be leading, but she will be doing her moves once in a while. And in the end, it's all beautiful. So view it as a dance. To learn to really hold frame on a date, you will need to learn many things. How to have a good conversation, how to move to more sexual topics, how to escalate, how to seed to make her interested in coming back to your place, how to invite her back to your place, how to behave at your place. But again, all of these things have been explained for free on daygamecourses.com. And so have been most of the texting problems you're facing, her insisting on a specific location, her wanting to go for a coffee during the day, etc. Previously, the advanced texting and advanced dating courses were available only to guys I've coached, but recently I've made them available for everything. So all of these things are covered there. So what about dealing with frame tests? There are some simple rules when it comes to dealing with frame tests, but I want to look into frame tests in very different practical scenarios. So after publishing this video, after a while, I'm gonna do Q&A where I'm gonna be covering different scenarios people send in and want discussed. If you want to ask your question, just make sure you are on our group chat or at least on the mailing list. Just go to daygamecourses.com, sign up, and in the welcome email you'll get an invitation link to join our group chat. You'll be able to ask all of your questions there, and I will also announce this Q&A to the mailing list. Well, that's it for this time, guys. See you in the next video.